All right, we are back for another episode of the House Podcast, coming live from Massapequa. I am Josh Handler with Team Handler over at Exit Realty Premier in Massapequa. If you have any questions regarding real estate matters, you are looking to start selling your home, you're looking to buy a home, you just have a basic question, anything real estate related, feel free to reach out to me, 516-732-6398. Let's get started. So we have a up-and-coming client coming on today. He's been in real estate. He's now crushing it in the mortgage game, and it really just opens your eyes of the sky is really the limit in certain industries, and that's really what was the main topic of conversation today. So without further ado, Greg Koster from Cardinal Financial. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
No, I appreciate, basically you coming out and asking me, hey, can we talk about this? Because it really does open up your mind to really what's going on in the world. And a lot of people fall into that category of, I want to go college, I want to go get my degree. That's what I was taught by my parents. And then I'll get that, doctor, I'll get that attorney job. I'll fall into that category and I'll make my six-figure salary and I'll live my comfortable life and move on.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that we were talking about this. So I did the whole college, what I would consider to be like the corporate ladder thing, obviously just for a little bit. But what I realized when I was going through that is I didn't think that was kind of fulfilling me. Like I didn't feel as if that was going to be something that I wanted to do in the long run that would make me happy. And then like you said, we talked about, I think a lot of people will say, it's very safe to go to college and to get your degree and to get this kind of job that at least at the end of the day, we know we're getting paid every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's safe. You have that cushion. You have that safety net.
Exactly. And we talked about this that I wanted to hit on. I heard a quote from Kevin from Shark Tank. Love Shark Tank.
That, not many people don't.
That got my entrepreneurial juices flowing at a young age. But Kevin's made a quote that really stuck with me that I wrote down as soon as I heard it. And that was, a salary is just the drug they give you when they want you to give up on your dreams, which resonated with me tremendously because I heard that and I was like, you know what? When I put it into context, it's like you said, someone can dangle a six-figure salary in front of you, say, hey, sir, you're going to make $100,000 for the rest of your life. They'd say, sign me up. I'm
sounds
good.
Great. I'm good for that.
And then, but that guy who just gave that to you is now basically saying, okay, take this, now shut up and don't get in my way.
Yeah. Well, there's two people. There's two style of people. There's the conservative that would love that, and then there's the people that are risk takers that are willing to go into a sales job that everyone's so worried about because it's commission based and you don't have a big salary, but the ceiling, there is none.
There is none, and also there is no floor. So I'll play devil's advocate a little bit.
Play both, yeah. So when you broke down that quote, what did it really mean when you first heard that?
Well, I heard it when I had just been making the transition into kind of making the decision, should I go that route to kind of secure my income and hopefully in a couple of years when I'm 35, 40 years old, I'll be making great money, or should I go
so
and try to make
let's
it
rewind
now?
for 1 second. We'll say, so obviously you started in real estate.
Yep.
Then you went into the mortgages. Let's give everybody a little background story so they'll understand exactly where we're going.
Yes. So I actually flipped that a little bit. I started in mortgages.
Okay.
Right? So I went off to college to play baseball for a little bit, and that was the first time I had made the decision when I was in college that I don't want to be doing this anymore, because I got to the point, it was about 1.5 years into it, where I was waking up every morning and I was saying, oh fuck, I gotta go to practice, I gotta lift, I gotta run, we got a bus trip this weekend, and I just said, I can't do this anymore, because I'm not the type of person that's gonna want to keep doing something and just waste time, because
right.
It was up in Syracuse, so I wasn't from Syracuse, but I figured at the end of my 4 years I would have had a business degree from Syracuse, and I would have been playing baseball the whole time. So in that 4-year span, I figured I'm not going to be a professional baseball player. Let's just call it how it is. Now, my roommate, funny enough, is actually on the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. So it was
somebody made it.
Someone made it. It was a good organization, and I learned a lot. I met some good friends there. But when I realized that I'm not going to be a professional baseball player, at the end of 4 years, every summer, so when you go home from college baseball, you have to play a summer league. And that basically eliminates you interning or doing anything like that. So I was like, when 4 years are up, I'm gonna have no experience in internships. I haven't created anything. So my only option really was, okay, like go get a graduate degree, which is, all right, let me go spend $300,000 to go to Fordham Law. And that's what I was gonna do. I'm gonna do that because I have no experience. I'm not gonna get a business job. So I said, I'm not doing that. I'm just going home. Right. So I transferred to Stony Brook. I majored in entrepreneurship there, which was kind of cool. It just kind of got me thinking a little bit. But on that transfer, I was looking for a job here and there. I was working in construction a bit, just trying to get my feet underneath me. And then I had a friend that we went golfing one day, and I was just bitching about what I was doing. And he was like, listen, he's like, my brother-in-law, he hires people all the time, you know, like maybe you should talk to him. I'm like, all right, fine. So that's when I got introduced to who you know, Frank, so King
Right.
Frank.
King Frank.
And Frank gave me an opportunity that I'll be forever grateful for. I was basically selling refinances on the phone, and I was an unlicensed guy, so I was calling lists and I was taking phone calls. And
So that's when you were a junior.
That's when I was a junior. So that's how I got my feet wet in the mortgage business. So that was in 2017.
So you were playing baseball, going to school, and then doing...
When I transferred to Stony Brook, I stopped playing baseball. I said, this isn't for me anymore.
Okay.
I wasn't happy with that. So then I was going to school full time. So Tuesday, Thursday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I was in school. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was working at the bank. And soon after working for the bank, I got my real estate license. And I was like, let's just give this a shot. And then Saturday, Sunday, I was in real estate.
I mean, so that just shows right there, for the people that say there's not enough time,
There is.
there's plenty of time. It's how lazy you want to be or how motivated you want to go get it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're literally going to school 5 days a week, after those 5 days, you're literally doing mortgages and on the phone for another 5-6 hours a day. And then on top of that, your weekends are now fulfilled with real estate. So
Yeah.
when people say, oh, I don't know if I can do it, or I don't want to take that jump and leave my other job, okay, don't take that jump then. You have plenty of hours in the day if you want it to go do 2-3
That's a great
jobs
point.
to get it done and then figure it out.
Yeah, because if you're in your traditional 9-to-5 job, I mean, you know, real estate is done on the weekends, and
There is no 9 to 5 in real estate.
No, there's definitely no 9-to-5, but the same thing goes for mortgages, because when you're in a business where you have to talk to the consumer often, they're probably working 9-to-5, so
Yeah.
you're going to have to be available from 6 to 10, and then also we're doing campaigns in California, so now
Oh, you got that 3-hour time difference.
10 o'clock
Yeah.
here is 7 o'clock there. So once I learned that, and I just wanted to get my feelers out there and see, like, this is an industry that I was seeing people make money and young. And I said, you know, these guys they're doing something right.
Right.
And if they're doing it, there's no reason why I can't do it.
So how long were you doing, mortgage, being a junior, and then also dabbling in the real estate?
So when I first started in real estate, I got off to a hot start. So I ended up, for the company I was working for, I won the Rookie of the Year for that year.
That's awesome.
And I was aligned well at the bank, where a lot of the loan officers were kind of giving me their buyers, and I was going out and selling them houses. So it was a good mix. My first listing ever actually was one of the managers at the bank was like, I need to sell my house. You just got your license.
And just, here you go.
He just gave me that. But I was interested in it because real estate is like sexy, right? Like real
Yeah.
estate is like listing houses. There's TV shows about it, and I was like, this is cool, and like you dress nice.
Yeah,
And,
that's the same thing with everybody wants to be a flipper these days because it's sexy. They
Right.
like the whole
they like
transformation.
HGTV.
They see
they
the guy, the hot guy and the girl flipping these houses. They're like, oh, I want to do this. They see the good returns. They don't see anything they don't see anything that's bad. They just see all the sexiness and they're like, I can do this. I want to do this.
Yeah, and that's when. So when I was doing that, I was also kind of realizing that the more and more time that I was just doing this naturally, then people started reaching out to me like, hey, don't you do this for a living? So then that's what kind of got the idea of that you can make a career out of this if you align yourself the right way. So people were reaching out to me to do their mortgages, to refinance, and also I had a really good mix going, but as we talked about earlier, I was full steam ahead to both. So I was trying to be the best loan officer and the best real estate agent.
Okay.
And I couldn't be perfect at one of them because, I mean, no one's ever perfect, but
Yeah.
I couldn't excel to the point where I wanted to because I was dealing with one and the other at the same time. So I had to say to myself, listen, I gotta figure out which one I want to do. And that's when I kind of figured out that in real estate, as we talked about, there is some sort of a part of it that's we're not needed as much as you are as a loan officer. So someone could sell their own house, buy their own house, and that's fine. And I always, as we said, I always will recommend a realtor
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's a
They say
benefit.
it's proven. Average realtor 6% more you'll net even after commission. If you hire a realtor, you'll net 6% more
Yeah,
on your
hire
sale.
the right one.
But at the end of the day, there's plenty of realtors that have no idea what they're doing.
Absolutely.
They're out there just discounting themselves, saying, "Hey, give me the deal. I'll do it for 2.5%."
Right.
And the agent's like, the client says, "Oh, that sounds great."
Saving money.
They're saving money. They hire them, and they lose on that.
Yep.
But then, like you said, yes, you can go out there and do a for sale by owner, which a lot of people like in this market are trying to do because they're like, "Oh, I could sell my house, no problem, because the market's crazy. I'll just throw some pictures up and it'll sell." But in regards to mortgages, you can't do that.
Right. So that's when I really sat down with myself and I was like, I got to really write this all out and put it in front of me and figure out what I want to do because I want to excel at something. So that's when I said, I'm going to look at the necessity and the scalability of what I'm doing right now. So when I realized that, okay, if you need a mortgage, so 90-something% of homes that are sold in the United States are purchased with financing. So the people who are buying them with a loan, you cannot do it yourself. You need a loan officer.
That'll be the day.
Right. So, the day that you can literally fund your own loan online, then I guess that
then we're shit out.
I might be dead. I think I will be dead at that point. So that's
we'll all be in trouble then.
Right, we'll all be in trouble. But I figured, okay, so now you need me. The other portion of it is not only can I just do purchases, but I also do refinances. And refinances have been a ton of my business this year. I mean, obviously there's been low rates.
Right.
I got 2 streams of ways that I can do loans, and then I'm licensed in, the bank is licensed in all 50 states, but I'm personally licensed in many of them myself.
Well, that's the difference. I'm a New York realtor. I'm doing Long Island. I'm not selling in Florida. I'm not, if you have a client that says, hey, I want to buy, I'm not flying down to Florida and helping you look around.
Right.
So obviously somebody calls you, hey, I just bought a house in Florida, I need a loan.
Easy. I could do it
You
from
could
my
do it
desk
from
in Melville.
You could do it from anywhere. So it's definitely, a big advantage.
And the model of the mortgage team that I'm on, we obviously, a lot of us have our own business, our own outside business. Referrals are huge, and that's our main source of business. But we do, as you know, we run lead campaigns.
Right.
We buy data in which we have a call center that gets in touch with people and transfers them to the floor. So that keeps your juices flowing too. When you're still taking leads, it sharpens your sales skills.
Every single one's always exciting. You never know what's on the other on the other end.
It's good and bad, but being that we do lead campaigns, in every state that I'm licensed in, I've closed at least a loan there, and many a times more. So, and you would also know, I'm basically licensed in what I would consider like the essential states. But you can have someone that's, I'm relocating for a job, or I got a friend who wants to refi down here. So that's, when I realized that I have cover in many different states, refis and purchases, I was like, you know what? Let me really go at these.
Right, give you a little bit more of an option, rather than just being okay. I'm a realtor in New York where it's not like you're limited, but you're limited.
Yeah, you're limited, and there is a lot of competition. And granted, I mean, in any business, there is a ton of competition everywhere, and you have to kind of break through.
I always wondered what has more, loan officers or realtors.
I would have to
Island?
imagine realtor, because the test is easier.
Yeah, I've taken the mortgage test twice. I failed twice, so I'm still an assistant. But yeah, it is super, super, super hard.
Yeah, the mortgage test is not easy for sure. I believe, the real estate test I ended up taking while I was literally sitting in class, like in lecture halls in Stony Brook, and I was like doing the 75-hour course, and I remember taking the test quick, and I didn't really study much for it. But the mortgage exam, luckily I took it once and passed it, but that
not
was
many
difficult.
people.
No, yeah, not many people, but I give myself I was in college when I took it, so I was still in that testing mode, so
right.
I kind of knew how to just hunker down and study and get it done. But that's a tough test, so just basing on the 2 exams, I can imagine that there's probably more realtors than.
Yeah, I know there's at least 28,000 realtors on Long Island.
It's unbelievable.
How many? So they say there's 28,000 realtors on Long Island. Half of them do no business,
right.
Not a single deal.
Not one loan. I mean, not one house sale.
Not one sale a year. They just literally hold their license.
Which is nuts.
And then the other, if you do $80,000 gross commission or more, you're in the top 2.5% of realtors.
Bananas.
Which is like not crazy.
No.
Which just shows that how much volume all the realtors do. The top agents really handle all this business.
It's funny, I think some people don't know this about mortgages and real estate. Like, to be a real estate agent, you're an independent contractor. So you get your license and you just hit up a broker and you say, hey, I have my license now, can I hold it with you? They're not basically paying you, right? You're not paying you anything. You're bringing the deals to them, so they're happy to bring whoever they want in.
Of course.
Maybe they'll spend money on training and stuff like that, but
the broker model is broken, and I say it to everybody.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everybody's going web-based, everyone's going cloud-based, but if there was a medium where it's like, okay, you downsized and you have that brick and mortar style with, being able to do everything virtually, and that broker was able to give you marketing, they were giving you, a podcast studio for people that want to be doing that stuff, they're giving you a social media team. If they were showing you, hey, come to my brokerage, yes, I do take 20 or 30 or whatever percentage they take from you, but the value is what you're getting.
Yes.
A lot of brokers, because I guess there's so many these days, and I mean, I don't know, I haven't been in those shoes, so I don't really know exactly what they go through, but they don't make enough money anymore to where they want to give those things, but at the same time, maybe if they give those things, more people would be willing to give up that percentage and come work for you at the same time.
That's a very good point, and that's when I got my real estate license, that was something I was trying to wean out. I went to a larger brokerage just because I wanted to make relationships that would last, and to learn from people who have been in it for a long time and have aligned themselves in the industry. A lot of the 100% commission or transaction fee type brokerages, it's a lot of people that, like you said, just kind of get their license and keep it there, but they don't ever do anything with it. So I wanted to be surrounded with people that did business, that knew the business well. But what I was touching on is so realtors, you're an independent contractor, that's that. Like loan officers, you have to work for a bank. You need to get employed by a bank.
Right.
You need to be, some banks are licensed, in which you don't have to be individually licensed, but you have to be employed by the bank. It's more of a corporate type structure,
right.
But it gives you, obviously you run your own business. Like for me, for example, I don't get a salary, we're all commission, but so we have so much flexibility. It's got to be my favorite thing about what I do, because I can work as hard as I want. If I need to take a day off, I don't have to send an email and say, sir, can I have Thursday off because I want to go apple picking? No, just don't show up.
Right.
Just make sure that
you just make sure your things are getting done.
Make sure that you're closing stuff, and at the end of the month, if you're still doing the same business, I don't care where the hell you are.
Right.
So that's that with where we're at with the business now.
So with the business that you're at now, how for somebody that's first getting into the industry, someone decides, I'm not really sure. Do I want to do mortgages? Do I like real estate at all? For somebody that's first getting into the business, what would you suggest to them that it's the first couple things you should do when you're getting in there? Obviously you're not going to have a lot of deals or anything of that in the beginning. How did you go about getting your first couple deals on both sides? How did you really go about figuring out which direction you wanted to pursue?
So I would say I'm not just going to limit it to just mortgages and real estate, but any position, any job that you start, and we'll use sales in general. So we touched on, if you don't know what you want to do coming out of college, or maybe you even want to make a career change or whatever, you can't write off sales as an industry in total, because you have this connotation that it's sleazy. Everyone has all these sleazy car salesmen. That's such a cliche thing to say, but so many people actually have that they have that engraved in their mind that sales is just not it. You know what I mean? It's not structured. There's no respect there.
Do you think because everybody thinks that salesmen's always out for their own pocket,
right,
or do you think it's more because people are scared that there's no salary? And
I think it's a blend of both. I think it's like I said, the connotation portion of it, where people are like, this guy's just trying to make money on me because he's got to feed his family or whatever, and then also they're just scared that, like you said, there's no guaranteed money. But right. I would say, if you're looking for that security, if you're looking for those good benefits, and you want to get paid the same every 2 weeks, that's fine. And that's when we pull in that O'Leary quote, that's your drug, that's the salary drug.
Right.
For people who think a little bit more outside the box, sales, you have every successful or super successful person in this world has sold something. Look at Amazon, right? Jeff Bezos had to sell books.
Right.
You look at Apple, right? So Steve Jobs had to sell his software. Bill Gates, they had to sell it. Everyone was selling something. So at some point in time, there was someone that looked at Bill Gates and said, this guy is a pain in my ass, and he's a sleazy salesman, and now he's the richest guy in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, sales, and not only if you give a sales job a shot, I always say 2 to 3 years is when you're going to figure out if something's for you or not. But shame on you if in those 2 to 3 years you don't take something out of it that benefits you for the future.
Right.
So you gotta learn, and you gotta take something out of every situation and apply 100%. That to your life.
I mean, we talked about this before, when we were just chit-chatting before, but a lot of people want, and this is broad spectrum across any job, people want instant satisfaction.
100%.
People don't want to put in the time. They don't want to put in the money. We run our own companies basically within companies, mortgages and real estate. And you're your own brand. You're building your brand, you're building your own network, and a lot of people don't like to invest money into themselves to grow. They want, I want to spend $2,000 this month, I want it to bring me back $6,000.
Right.
They're not willing to look
just not gonna happen.
3, 5 years, 10 years out down the line. Maybe that money that you're investing now is getting you a client in 5 years that's looking to sell, but they're not ready now.
Right.
They want that instant satisfaction, which kind of hurts them because they're not willing to put up that money or time.
It derails them from the goal, which is just to stay on track and give it its time and let it take its course. A thing that I didn't want to forget about is this is what's very scary when you get into a sales-based job. You say, well, how the hell do I start selling? How do I get deals?
Dude, it's scary if you've never done it before.
It's very scary, and that's, we talked about, I didn't have a family in real estate in this, but my dad's in construction, he was a police officer, my mom has been in the hospital industry, so at the end of the day, like I never had someone to tell me like, okay, so now that you decided to do this, like here's who you go to. So I really had no idea how the hell I was going to get people.
You kind of just figuring out as you go.
Right, and I think the one piece of advice that I was given, if you have to find someone where you're working, whether it's at your brokerage, if you do real estate, or at your bank, or a manager at your bank, you have to find someone that's willing to teach you what they went through, because everyone went through something. And I had found a couple of guys that I would ask questions, and I'm sure if I asked them this day, they'd say you were so annoying when you were 18 or 19.
I could only imagine, like when people ask me what's like the number one thing on the real estate end, what I should look for, I don't even tell them a broker anymore. Look for what team you think you should capitalize with, and what team can teach you the most, because you're gonna learn from the team members. The broker's not taking you out, walking you around properties. They're not showing you how to do open houses. You know, you're gonna watch a little video maybe. You're gonna watch. You know, they're gonna give you a little script. Nothing's the same. Just like when you go to school and you read the textbook. When you're doing it in real life, it's not the same as you're reading off a script. You know, and the only way you're gonna learn is doing it in the field. You know, it's like you take the test, you take the real estate test. And now, once you pass, now you'll learn how to sell real estate.
Yeah,
it's
the exams. It's just something they just put in front of you as a hurdle before you get into 100%. The industry. But
so I think, what do you think about the whole team aspect? Do you think it's like the same on?
Yeah, I mean, I was extremely fortunate. Like the team that I joined in the mortgage industry has always been a disruptor in any volatility that has ever occurred. Because our businesses go up, down, left, right, center.
Yeah.
And this particular guy who runs our team, he's been successful through it all. I mean, these guys, when they were my age, they were in kind of that mortgage boom, like pre-2008, where everyone could get a loan and this and that. And then 2008 happened, where the world exploded, and these guys stayed on their feet.
They fought through it and still made it.
And now you look at them today, and they're uber successful, and the most humble, nicest guys that you'll ever meet.
I mean, it's so true. When I first started at Cardinal with you guys, and Frank was, I walked in the first time, and the guy's like wearing like a t-shirt. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And so I was like, this guy knows like everything. And I was like, yeah, all right. He's like, you're gonna come work for us. You're gonna work part-time, but you're gonna like bring every single loan to us, and we're just gonna crush it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right. And I was like, all right,
yeah,
fine.
I mean,
but
I think
it just showed, not to cut you off, but he, now being in the industry for over 2 years and being with Cardinal for over a year, every single person knows Frank.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, you work at Cardinal? Oh, I used to work with Frank at United, or this or that.
Yeah,
everybody knows this guy.
Such a great reputation.
So if everyone knows you and everyone's saying pretty much good things, you obviously are doing something right.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, this is someone that I try to take bits and pieces from every day, and everyone that's in a more of an executive role that I work with, I still to this day, I mean, I've always liked school, which is kind of like lame to say, but
I couldn't stand it.
I liked learning, and I liked picking up new things every day, and I translate that to what I do now, because I'm still out there every day to learn something. And I take something from everyone's different style, and that creates mends my own style. But
absolutely.
But like you said, like these guys that I work for now, when I see that they've been through so much and they've still been able to kind of resurface, that's when I realized I was with the right people. You know what I mean? So in regards to getting your feet underneath you and starting a sales-based business and getting your first couple of deals, you gotta pick the right team. You gotta be aligned with the right people. And then the first thing that you have to do is whatever you're selling, whether you're selling calculators or mortgages, you need to go to what you would consider your warm network right away, and just ask everyone under the sun, I need you to give me someone to do this, or you need to do it yourself.
Right. That's what in real estate we say, like your spheres, like your number one source of income. That should be all your friends, your friends' friends, your parents' friends, your parents.
Yep.
That's going to be like your sphere, where you should have them on like an email once a month, that everything that you did this month. And that just shows you, okay, even if they don't respond, they're getting your email, and when the time's right, maybe they reach out, but hopefully they think of you when someone asks them, hey, I'm looking to do a refinance. Hey, I'm looking to sell a home. Do you know anybody? You want them to think of, you. You may not be Mr. Massapequa. You may not be Mr. Melville, but you want them to, your sphere knows you.
Yeah, and that's it. So it's all a spider web, and like I said, you got to give it 2-3 years, because when I first started out, and I'm saying I'm doing mortgages full time, I wasn't closing 9 loans a month. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't.
What's an average loan officer you think probably ends up closing a month?
I mean, they say a good loan officer does like $1 million a month, right? That's always been a benchmark. But I'm sure there's a lot that don't do that. Obviously, we know many that do much more than that.
Right.
So I think that a lot of it comes down to, and you got to also remember, a lot of it comes down to your behind the scenes people. Like, we bring in the loans and we do what we can do to move them along. But like your processors, underwriters,
they're huge.
They make the whole thing move. We're just the face of it. But we bring in the deals. We have a lot of the conversation with the borrowers. But it does take a village to close a loan for sure. But what I would say, like, what we said is when you first start getting your first couple of deals and you tap that warm sphere and you say, okay, I'm doing someone's purchase or I'm doing someone's refinance. When you first start and you don't have a lot of deals, you have to handle that particular transaction like it is the only thing you're working on, dealing with, and care about in the entire world. Because the job you do for that first person, then they're going to refer number 2. 100%. Then you do it again. Yeah. And then you're going to start seeing, you might only have 2, 3, 4 deals going on at once, but when you give them all that white glove service, that is when you truly start
getting
getting
and then you start getting the referrals. Yeah, I just did a podcast with somebody, I forgot who said it, but literally they're like, you want a deal to have bumps in the road. You want a deal to have, even if it's a small problem, that you're able to fix, no problem, without an issue, because that shows your value. They see that more than if the deal goes perfectly smooth.
Yep.
As much as you want that deal to go perfectly smooth, you want those couple hiccups that you could iron out, and half the time the client may not even know about it. But when you talk about it after, they're like, oh wow, that's great. And next time they're like, Greg, I need a loan.
Guy was great. And your every deal is gonna have, you're gonna have your some of your deals that you're like, was that really that easy? Like we have closed refis with like appraisal waivers in like 7 days, which is nuts. But you'll be like, wow, that was unbelievable. Then you'll have what you think on an initial phone call be like the squeakiest clean deal in the entire world, and it ends up being an absolute disaster. But it's how you react to it. It's how you handle it. Yeah. So, as they always say, like in good times and bad, like you got to stay even keel. But it's true. When you crush it and you do something really quick and you can't gloat, be like, I'm the best. Like you say, listen, did a great job. Be happy to deal with any of your friends or family. But when it gets really shitty, you also have to be the guy to say, like, okay, I'm sorry this happened. This is what we have to do to get through it.
How do we correct it and move on?
Yeah, how do we correct it and move on? And you can never, the one thing in sales, like as we talked about, well, there's no ceiling, there's no floor. You can never get too high and you can never get too low. We always say, like, there's always a joke, maybe like someone leaves at 6 o'clock one day, like, oh, big pipe, you know what I mean? Because you might have a ton of deals going on right now, you're counting your money and your commission, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be ready to roll. And it's like, all right, so if you stopped working for a week, then next month, you're flat broke. So
right.
It's like,
yeah, you got a big pipeline right now, but what happens in 2 months or a month?
It's gonna close. So you always, and that's the fun of it, that's the chase, and you're always replenishing, but especially when you're first starting out, as you can tell, like, mortgages and real estate, the reason that they're nice is because both businesses afford you to make a lot of money in a lump sum, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that these two businesses, although it's not guaranteed and it's tough to get started, when you really start get going and you start making a lot of money at one time, it's a savings agent. It's very easy for you to save money, and then what you do with that money, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
That's when you start investing and you start getting into other things, but you got to have your bread and butter, which for you is selling homes and being a realtor. For me, it's doing loans, and that bread and butter has to then ultimately one day hopefully spiral into other things.
Right.
So,
yeah. You put your soldiers to work.
Yep.
Once you get to that level, when you're like, okay, let me dabble a little bit in this. You just want to be diverse.
Yeah, and that's why you can't be afraid to ask questions, because then now if you kind of figured out a little bit of a niche in your industry and you're like, okay, now I'm making good money and I know how to do this, like there's nothing that's going to happen that I don't know.
Right.
Now if you're looking to take the next step, which I'm getting into, start investing in real estate and doing this and doing that, ask people that have done it, because then you've created these relationships along the way.
There's no better knowledge than people that done it.
Right. Now
10,
there's
20,
a guy
50
that you work for in the mortgage industry that owns 30 investment properties or flips houses left, right, and center. And why would you not go out to them? Hey, can we go out to lunch and you
just want to pick your brain for an hour?
Yeah, it's like I've always found that so amazing that people are nervous to ask people questions. I'm like, the worst thing that they're gonna say is no, and maybe you'll be a little embarrassed.
Well, that's the thing. People are scared to be embarrassed. They're scared to ask.
It's nuts, and that's. It blows my mind, because that is literally the only way that I felt like I've kept getting better each day. Is you just need to ask people, because believe it or not, people are out there to help. Like there's very few people that are malicious, that like, I don't want to give this guy.
They think they're too good, like their shit don't stink type of people.
And what I've realized is I used to think that way. It's like, well, this guy probably doesn't want to talk to me. But then at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? Like if I just asked him, like he was actually happy to share with me how he got there.
Right.
So that is something that I've learned, and that's Could be anywhere. If you're looking for a job, like you could be. I remember someone telling me once, like the great thing about New York City, which obviously we can't really work in too much right now with what's going on, but you could be in an elevator at any given point with someone worth $100 billion.
Yeah, like, no idea.
So and the same goes for, I guess Long Island's pretty densely populated, but you could be in a room with someone that you have no idea what they do, and they could actually give you an opportunity, or something can happen that sets you up for life.
Well, I literally, somehow this comes up on every single podcast. Ryan Serhant, when he first started, he does, I don't know how many billions of dollars, the biggest real estate brands out there. And when he came here, he came with nothing. He had no leads. He had no money. Had nothing.
Yeah.
And his number one rule was, I'm going to speak to 3 random people a day, because you never know, you know, what they have, what their story is. You know, you could be in Starbucks waiting for your coffee at 8 o'clock in the morning. You see someone's shoes. Hey, I love those shoes, man. Sometimes it turns into a conversation, and maybe it snowballs into, oh, you know, what do you do for a living? Oh, I do this. And who knows, maybe they have a friend that's looking to possibly sell.
Yeah, and you know what? I think, like, obviously, you know, if you try to meet 3 new people every single day, like maybe I did today, I wasn't really keeping track of it, but I know it's not that easy, like that Starbucks example, to be like, ma'am, okay, do you need to refi? Like, she's gonna like kill
That's
yourself.
why he would like never, you know, he starts, it's basically like a icebreaker. He just says, you know, he'll just give a compliment.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll just say, hey, thanks, and they don't want to be bothered, and no problem. You know, sometimes it turns into a conversation for 5 minutes, and hey, here's my card if you ever, you know, want to continue talking or anything of that nature. No harm, no foul. What's the worst that can happen? They throw your card out in the garbage on the way out?
That's
right.
Exactly. And that, I think, well, that's what separates, like I said, the people who take the salary drug, right? That the placebo of life that just says, here's security, and you know what, you're never not gonna have enough, but you're never gonna have everything you want.
Right.
Or there's the people that go out and get it, and those are the people that aren't scared to ask that question. And there's ways, people don't realize, there's ways to force yourself into meeting new people. Like, join a networking group. They're cliche, they suck, and you know, no one wants to slap a "Hello, my name is Greg" sticker on and meet like 10 different people. But one of the networking groups that I joined when I was first getting in the business, I was still at United Mortgage. One of the loan officers that worked there, I was working with a bit, and he had, when I had got my real estate license, he's like, "Why don't you join the group as a realtor?" All right, no problem. So in that group, there was a home inspector, a financial advisor, a CPA, and a personal injury attorney. And we would go, it sucked because it was at 7 a.m. every morning, about a 35-minute drive away from my house. And I would go and just maybe 5 minutes or so of what's going on in our business or whatever, but most of it was just bullshit and making friends. Now, these guys were much older than me, but it helped me mature a little bit. It helped
Get your feet wet, you never know who you're gonna meet.
And out of many of those guys, so one of those guys gives me a ton of referrals in regards to mortgages all the time. I've personally done 2 or maybe 3 at this point of their mortgages. Like, that just started from one group, and then I've met other people that then
branched off.
There's your spider web. So
I
forced myself into, or maybe I don't want to tap that guy at All American and say like, hey, it looks like you might need to do a cash out. Like, you force yourself into like a group like that, like it's helpful. And that was one of the things that I jotted down was, online's great, you know. A lot of people now are trying to like navigate to like online networking, but let's be honest, like, you surfing LinkedIn and sending people direct, they're deleting that because people like DM me on LinkedIn, and I'm like, can you stop?
Yeah.
Like,
well, half of them is like automated messages.
Right.
It's like, oh, sorry, I'll get back to you in a minute.
And same goes, like, I like social media as an instrument, I really do. I think the way that I utilize it a bit more is just to kind of keep myself present, so people know what I do. And you know, it's funny, I have one of my brother's friends actually like DM'd me on Instagram and was like, hey, like, you know, I think it's time to start looking for houses, don't know what to do, but like, I heard you're the man to do it. And that's just because I hadn't spoken to this guy in years, but he just follows me. I followed him back. He sees my stories, you know, he knows what I do. That turned into, I set him up with a realtor, and in 2 weeks he's under contract.
Yeah, I mean, I think
so. It works.
Media is huge.
It works. It definitely works, and people utilize it in their own way. You have to make it your own way, but networking wise, to get started, you got to do it in person. I know it's not easy right now. It's not, but
you definitely need to have a mixture of the two.
That in-person kind of introductory, like foot in the door type deal, like that's what really cultivates.
Yeah, it's that face-to-face interaction, you know.
Because then, exactly, once you meet that person for the first time, then maybe follow them on Instagram, and then maybe, you know, react to their stories, comment on their stuff.
Yeah.
That is what kind of keeps it going. But I think that it's important to get in front of people in person.
So for the people, you know, that friends that are asking us, hey, you know, I kind of like what you're doing. I see you're making a shitload of money. You know, how can I do that? You know, what are the number one, you know, top couple things that I'm sure you have some friends that see you, crushing it. What are they asking you? What are you telling them when they say, hey, should I get into this industry or?
Yeah, and I think that it's, first of all, you have to kind of itemize if you're happy now. You know what I mean? Like, granted, if you told me when I was 13 that I'm gonna be a mortgage loan officer one day, and that, I'd be like, what? Like, fuck, who chooses that?
Right.
But what I would say is the way that I kind of sketched it out when I was like, I gotta do something, I gotta figure something out, is what do I want to do in general? Like, do I want to be dealing with people a lot? If I hated people and I never wanted to speak to people, probably not the best job. Because people yell at me all day. There's also highs and lows. There's happy, there's sad. But maybe if I didn't want to deal with people all day and I wanted to just deal with a computer or something, maybe I would have went into accounting and got a CPA and probably make great money doing that. But I figured I like to talk to people. I like the idea of the hustle, commission, sales, this and that. So when I laid that all out, the job that I fell into, it kind of fit all those categories. So
right.
You shouldn't be looking like, if you don't know what you want to do right now or how you want to make money in sales or commission, you shouldn't say like, this is the industry I got to do. You got to say like, what do I want to see myself doing? And then you'll kind of back yourself into the field.
Yeah, I feel like
that makes sense.
if you're passionate about it, the money will follow.
Yes.
If you love what you're doing, like I love the game of real estate. Yeah, the money's great, don't get me wrong, but I love helping these families and see them purchasing their first home or taking that second step and buying that 800, 900K house when they had that 400K house that I helped them buy 7 years ago.
Right.
I love the game of the negotiations and battling against these other agents when half these agents have no idea what the hell they're doing, and it's honestly just fun to like pick them apart sometimes.
Yep.
But I love that aspect, and when you're passionate about it, people feel that. Your clients feel it, and they trust you, and they get those great energy, that vibe.
Yep.
And then the money follows. Everything comes through. So that's one of the things I feel, if you're passionate about it, that's the number one thing.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, that brings me to when I was saying, like, obviously I didn't know I was going to do mortgages, and,
right.
and it's not, you have to kind of create a passion for something like this, you know what I mean? But then that's like, I gave myself, like, there's been times in the business where I would look at what I'm doing and be like, am I going to be able to do this? Like, you doubt yourself a little bit, but I stayed true to the fact that I think I took the risk to do something like this at a good time in my life. I knew worst case scenario, if I failed and I fell flat on my face, I wasn't homeless.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you're in a position like that where, it's either, be successful or make money doing this, or you have nothing, then I get it. Like,
then it goes back to the beginning story. Work your 2 jobs until you figure, until you feel yourself that you're comfortable to take a leap.
Exactly. So that's kind of, I guess, what I did, but I didn't, my plan B. My plan B wasn't I'm going to be living on Merrick Road.
Right.
It was let me at least just take the risk, and then the way that it actually ended up working out, if I was in that position where if I didn't succeed, then I wouldn't have a place to live, that would have never have happened, because I use the mentality of, and you said Sirhan, like I follow him on social media all the time, like he always says, like, you got to put your back against the wall, and that's what forces you to try to get more. So
yeah.
And that's why, one of the last things that I'll say, like, when I quit baseball, because I was waking up every morning and saying, like, I hate what I'm doing and I don't want to do this
anymore. You weren't
anymore.
into it anymore.
I wasn't into it anymore. Like, I can truly say, if I go out on a weekend, or if it's a Sunday and everyone's oh God, I gotta go to work on Monday. Like, I never wake up in the morning and say, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I say, okay, like, I'm ready to
go.
And it's like, I guess it's because, like, I'm not that kind of salary guy, that desk monkey where I don't punch in and out.
Right.
So
every day could be different.
Maybe
you're not going to the desk.
Right. If I was a little hungover and I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to show up at 10 today, like, no one's getting on my case for it. It's just, I know, like, all right, I'll stay like an hour later, like, to get my work done. So I don't wake up at all anymore and say that, I have to go to work. And I think it's more of like, I get to go to work. I give myself the opportunity today to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And every day is different, which is just awesome. Like, today, for example, I'm very OCD, organized, good calendar. Like, I want to hit certain things every day, but I have a schedule every day for what I think I want to do. But stuff happens. Like, I just had someone reach out to me that I had closed a loan for in February, who said, hey, like, I don't know if you remember. I'm like, of course I remember. Like, I'm as I said, I'm very OCD. I have an entire Excel sheet of all of my previous closings. He's like, well, you closed a loan for me back in February, and he had a 3.375% rate, which is a great rate. And he's like, but I heard they're a lot lower right now. It happened to be a VA loan, so as you know, we could do an IRRRL.
Right.
So I just priced it for shits and giggles, 2.25.
Yeah, it's probably ecstatic.
And he's like, what do you need? I'm like, your mortgage statement, because I have all your old docs. He's like, all right, man, e-signed, done, just I'll close them in 2 weeks. Like, that just happened today because the guy called me out of the blue, and that took 2 hours of my day to set up and get going. But it's just like, that's what's fun about it. Everything, it's different. Every day is different. I know that it's not 9 to 5 and then I'm, waiting to punch out and I'm out of here.
Right, well, that's the difference. You have to be okay. Your phone's always on, basically, in these positions.
I mean,
you never know when that
just happened as the time I'm sitting here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so one of the questions, obviously, whenever we have a loan officer on here, everybody always wants to ask, what do you think about the rates? How long are they going to stay there? What do you predict? Everybody has their own predictions. What do you think is going to happen with the housing industry? Is it going to be a seller's market for a while where there's no inventory and houses are still going 40, 50, K over ask, interest rates staying in the 2s? What's your opinion?
So which is crazy to think now that I feel like I've been in this business for a long time, but when I had first started in this business, we were getting the latter end of a very good rate environment. However, 2018 was a disaster for interest rates. Like, I remember my first self-sourced purchase loan ever. I gave them a 5.375% interest rate. A conventional loan, like 780 FICO.
Yeah, you say that now, you get shot.
Right, yeah, it's like, I think it was like 5% down or something, which is why maybe it wasn't 5%. So I've seen the volatility. I've seen them really high, and even 5% historically is relatively low. Like,
you hear back at 8, 9, 10, 12%.
I think my parents bought at like 11% or maybe even a little higher than that. But I got in when we were doing streamlines and Earls, and rates were low 3s and everything was looking good. People were making a lot of money. Then 18 was that's when I had a little bit of reservations about the business, when I was like, holy shit, like, rates are in the 5s. There's not a lot of loans to be done, but my team was still doing business. No one was out of work. So then 2019, a lot of stuff corrected a little bit. And then this year was an anomaly, obviously. Like, COVID was crazy. And I'd given rates, like I said, I just did a VA Earl today. I locked it at 2.25%. Like, they're doing 30-year fixed conventional loans, sub 3%. So, what I think is that, I looks like volatility for me has always reacted to kind of like perception of the world.
Yeah, well, listen, at the end of the day, everything comes in waves.
It's going to come in waves.
Come up, it's going to come
down.
You
have to take advantage when it's good, and you have to be resilient when it's not so good. But I do think come 2021, they're going to remain relatively the same. So I think that, if you don't buy right now or refinance right now, I don't think that the benefit's going to dissipate. I definitely think that the refinances are going to dry up, because remember, everyone that could have refinanced pretty much did.
Right.
So now I'm not going to be able to call a purchase loan that I did in June next year and say, hey, it's time to refi. They already have a really low rate. So, that is your volume, and refinances won't be as much. But I think purchases I think rates are still going to be solid. I mean, you look at what the Fed's doing with holding their benchmark rate. So that should be, I don't think they're going to pop, so to say. But the real estate industry, the one thing I have been noticing is, as we know, limited inventory and a ton of buyers. So it's definitely a seller's market. A lot of people from Corona were fleeing the boroughs, trying to get some space, because now we're all home all the time. Because it's very easy to live in a studio apartment when you're there for 3 hours a day. Right. When you're there all day long, it's a different story.
Plus, the interest rates being so low, it's allowing these buyers to afford more, so they're willing to pay these $30,000, $40,000 prices, because it's raising their mortgage $120. They're like, I'll go out to eat once.
Well, the very simple way to understand it is, if you were to buy in 2018 a $450,000 house at 5%, now if you were to buy a $500,000 house in the rates that we're at now, your payment's the same.
Yeah, if not less.
You can actually buy more with a lower rate, and you're spending less. So that's why we've been in such a crazy market. But I do think what I've been noticing is that a lot of these people now paying over ask, the homes are not appraising. So I think that the market is kind of correcting itself a bit, because the problem is, for example, in North Massapequa, it's a funny example that I saw this the other day. So I used to walk past this house. I used to run, actually during COVID, I would run around, all the blocks of Massapequa, and I would pass this house, and it was an old brick cape that was tiny, and it was a zombie house. I was like, when is someone going to buy this? No one would buy it. Now it was getting like, overgrown shrubs and everything. And one day there was a truck in the driveway, and I'm like, it looks like they're starting to do work on it. So I ended up looking up the house, and the guy bought it for $325. And like I said, I mean, this market. I believe it's a 3-bedroom, very, very small cape in North Massapequa. He renovated it. He left the brick facade. He put a little bit of siding on it. He did like fake laminate floors, like Home Depot special.
Still got somewhere in the fives.
He listed it for $599,
Yeah.
which he's not going to get. I'll tell you, because the
No.
taxes are like nuts. I think they're like $17,000. But when Johnny does that and lists a cape for $599, now the split down the block says, well, then if that's $599, yeah, I'm worth $650, and that's artificially inflating values.
Right.
So although the buyers are saying like, all right, fuck it, like I'll pay $650 for that because now rates are so low. Now the appraisers are saying this house is not worth $650.
Right.
So we're seeing that
Come to
now,
earth.
which does make me think that the market's going to correct itself a bit. I think that a lot of the sellers will now get the idea that they can get top dollar, so you'll see more inventory and you'll see a little bit less buyers.
Yeah,
so
I definitely
we'll correct.
I see some houses, now starting to drop in price because they're realizing, all right, we shot for the stars, it's not working. Like, let's come to reality a little bit. It's probably you're still getting top value.
You are,
but you're just not getting the value in the moon.
The problem is you have comps because you had the idiot that paid $40,000 over ask for a house that was definitely not worth it, but it's a comparable sale.
Right. Once these houses really start closing for the last like 2-3 months, it's going to set the comps where they'll be able to get closer to that number that they're trying for now.
Yep.
So it's just going to keep going.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that in the very near future, I like to take each day by day. I think that I like to live my life that way because if you start, it's always good to have goals. Obviously, goals are great, short-term, long-term goals, and you plan for the future. But if you're living for, a year from now, 2 years from now, it's silly. So I think to think that far in advance, because you can, I can walk out of here tonight and God forbid, I can get hit by a bus.
Knock on wood.
Right. So, that's why I like to live my life by like when I wake up each day, it's like it's a clean slate for the day. Do what you have to do, enjoy your life, and then do it again tomorrow. So I think that don't think 2-3 years down the road. Don't think what's going to happen in the market. Just take it day by day. You will be fine. And just look at your industry that you're in right now. Look at mortgages. Look at real estate. It's been around forever and will continue to be around. Yeah. There's going to be people like Zillow that tries to come in and take this model from everyone. Yeah. There's going to be these online mortgage banks.
Always going to be somebody.
But you know what? There's going to be the people that do it the right way. They're always going to be there. So
no, 100%. So if everybody likes what they hear, they have mortgage-related questions, or they're thinking about getting into industry, or how do they get what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Best way to get in contact with me? I mean, honestly, nowadays, like just search my name on Instagram, Greg Koster. My email's in there. I actually can see DMs, you know what I mean? I hate LinkedIn, so please don't follow me on LinkedIn.
So Instagram and Facebook or direct
Instagram's good, but or just text me. I always have my phone on me, so that and like I said, I mean, I don't want to just limit myself to people who want to get into just mortgages or real estate because I'm sure you don't know what you want to do, but I'd be happy to kind of help and answer any questions about if people are scared about doing something, because I just kind of want I think if everyone is happy and everyone's successful and doing their own thing, then it makes for a better world. So that's
well said.
Yeah, that's what I'm out there for.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. If you have anything you want to speak to Greg, give him a call, DM him. He'll help you out if you have a mortgage question or just life question. Give him a call. If you're looking to buy or sell your home, again, give me a call, 516-732-6398. Again, if you like things that you're hearing on our podcast, please give it 5 stars. Like it on Instagram, like it everywhere. It helps with the algorithm. So if you can give us 5 stars and give us a review, I appreciate it. And thanks for coming, Greg.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.